I really need to make one of those intro kind of streams or screens so that when these things pop up, there's not a little bit of delay. I always worry about that, and I never think about it until I'm actually doing it. I get on it. But hello, guys. It is Thursday, and we got a few things we're going to go over today. I asked you kind of late last night. I should probably do this a little bit more advanced if there was any sort of topics or things that you wanted to talk about this week, and there were a few of them, but one that jumped out to me that had a bunch of likes on it, and it's kind of the thumbnail of this video right here. Tomas wanted to know, let me see if I can find his exact quote, because it's something I think about all the time, and the timing couldn't have been better of it, because I saw something last night on my phone that was just like, oh man, it's like fate that he brought it up today. So I asked, if you have a topic or a question you'd like me to ask, what would it be? And he wanted to know, why do people care more about gear than music? It's an interesting kind of conversation, isn't it? I'll start by saying hello to everybody. Haunted Guitar Man. In my opinion, because people like me make music for fun, it's a calming thing. Reviews and gear for me are like talking with people about my hobby, since in-person talk is lacking. Hearing opinions on stuff. I could see that part of it. Greg, good morning. Daniel, good morning. And Paul, good morning. So I guess I'll start with kind of Haunting Man's perspective here. Hypothetically speaking, wouldn't it be more productive and kind of like more, I don't know, gratifying if we could just discuss the music instead, like each other's music, and share each other's music instead? Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm a gear channel, but it's because I've done this for so long at this point. I've learned the hard way several times. It's the only way to get people to click on stuff, and it's the only way to generate any sort of revenue whatsoever. And it's kind of depressing in a way, but it's part of the reason why, like, when you hear me playing a demo, I can't even think of how often it is, how inoften it is, rather, that I play covers. I don't play covers. The way I kind of keep it interesting for myself is to try and write something with that guitar on the spot when I'm doing it. Or if I'm kind of like in a pinch for time, or you know how we all have off days and it's just like, it seems like the well is completely dry. Like at that point, like there are certain like house riffs that I kind of have that they're my riffs. But yeah, I just do it myself, because at least in that capacity, then when I'm doing some sort of gear related thing, on my end, I feel a little bit more fulfilled because I've been creative during that process, or I've been able to work on something that I've already written before and maybe adapt it a little bit differently or change something and go from there. But I don't know, in a perfect way, I think it would be just better if we were to focus more on it in general instead of just the gear, because the gear is nice and the gear is fun. It absolutely is. But you get to a point where you have what you need. We all do, and it is fun to talk about, but shouldn't we be talking about, how we use it and showing how we use it in the context of a song? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'll start like something on the website, because I really need to revamp that thing anyways, where we can kind of post music. Well, you guys can post music, and we can all kind of start a little community and start sharing stuff like that. I feel like that would be productive. Daniel says, I think we're propagandized to bye-bye with streaming. Music isn't a moneymaker, but the gear is pushed on us by companies and the algorithms. Well, you have a lot of willing people to do it, all right? I want to show you guys something real quick. This is the post I saw before I saw Tomas's post last night when I asked the question. I saw this on Instagram. Now, this is Guthrie Trapp. Here's the true reality of working every day, morning till night, for 35 years in music. This is a post of pedals that help to make music. See, thousands or whatever. This is the actual music, 40. Now, if this was a gear tuber that was not known for being an exceptional musician that's working regularly and really makes their money by doing that, this is all just extra. Although at this point, I think his channel is so big, he's probably making a decent amount of money doing YouTube and selling all the courses and stuff like that. I would maybe look at it a little bit differently. because a guy just sitting in his room who doesn't go out, who doesn't create, who just, gets every new launch thing sent to them, and they get to do a collaboration video, and they have, closets full of guitars that'll probably get used once or twice, and they play the power chords for you guys, and that's the end of it, and they get to make a living doing it. That's reality, though. The gear is what it is, and that ratio I find to be extremely accurate and really disheartening in a way, because I have the same exact kind of experience on here. If I try to do anything with a lesson, anything to do with how to be more creative with your songwriting, if I post original music that's just individual music and not individual or original songs included into demos, then it's doomed. It's doomed at that point. So I'm just kind of at the juncture where I think, I'll do the gear stuff to get people in, and if they like the playing, maybe something will happen from there. But then, so much time gets put into actually creating the gear stuff that not as much as should be is put into actually turning those kind of ideas into full-on songs. Kind of a catch-22. Hi, Stan. Hi, gang. Great title topic. But I don't know. And I don't think Spotify helps. I don't think the lack of physical medium being normal helps at all either. I think it sucks. I think it's awful. Just like my dog barking at the neighbor's dog, because every time that little guy starts a fight with my dog for nothing, and it infuriates me. But it's just different now. It's just different now. And I feel like there's so much out there, and because everything is free, and you can go on your phone and instantly get all these different bands, all these different music. You don't have to pay for any of it, and in a lot of people's heads, they're like, oh, well, I'm supporting it by listening to the stream on Spotify. I'm supporting it by watching the YouTube video and all that. Like, that's why somebody like Guthrie Trapp started doing YouTube, probably because he was not happy with the amount of money he was making, and that guy's a world-class talent. Greg Koch, another great example. I think Greg is one of the best players that's alive, period, if not the best. He's up there. And the amount of grinding that he's done, that he worked with Fender for years, and then he got the gig at Wildwood demoing the guitars for them, like, somebody of that talent, that also, like, and this is the important thing, because you can be a great technical player, right? I think of like Tim Henson and stuff like that, where it's just like virtuoso sort of stuff. And I can see why some people like that, but I don't think those are great songs. Like, Greg Koch writes great songs. There's a lot of amazing kind of musical nuggets here and there, and it's just stuff that really resonates just to anybody, not just to guitar players. I think that's the other thing that kind of gets lost in the ether here, and it kind of translates over to demos. Like, there's so much just like, look at me playing, you know what I mean? Stuff that you wouldn't necessarily hear in a song in a context, but stuff that in YouTube demos, people are like, oh, that's so good because he's so talented. He's ripping, the pentatonics. He's having so much fun. He's going so fast and everything's great, but it's not musical. It's not musical at all. And you could make it musical. There are players that are capable of doing it. Like Marty Friedman is a perfect example to me of somebody who is just insanely gifted, but also insanely gifted in the manner of being able to compose songs and as a proficient player. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What are some guitar players that you feel kind of do a good job of doing both, being like really good musicians, not just guitar tech shredders, and balancing it out and writing good songs? Let me see. Perfect example. I'm sitting here pouring my heart out about how frustrated I am with everything, and it being all about gear. And Billy writes, unfortunately, I do want one of those new chamber Telecasters. Look, dude, I can't blame you. I mean, there's stuff I want, and there's new stuff coming on Tuesday. Just like every year, every few months, there's new stuff. But the Big F will have stuff out on Tuesday. That's a whole nother topic. Maybe we'll get into that later in today's stream. But yeah, that's something to go for. But let me read Lexi's. Lexicon. I called you Lexi. I apologize for that. I got a friend named Lexi. You can play guitar like a demon all day, but it's nothing if you can't put it together and make a good song. That's my point. Like, how many of these, like, demo people that have these crazy chops? Can you name a song? Or, like, have you ever listened to their songs and you've thought to yourself, like, oh, that's a really good song? Or, like, that made you feel something other than just, like, oh, that guy's a really great player. Or that gal is a really great player. Because that's kind of like, that's a deal breaker to me. Like, I don't care how fast you can play. And this is coming from a pure rhythm guy. I very rarely play lead on this channel. And one of the reasons I don't play lead is because I feel like without the context of the rest of the song, the lead means nothing. Because the lead is really derivative, a good lead, in my opinion, is really derivative in a traditional song sense that has a singer in it, of something that is kind of going to start off of the melody or build off the melody or incorporate parts of the main melody from the vocal into the solo and tie it all together while adding something on top of it, because you're contributing while kind of doing a reference point to what the song contains in it musically. That to me is what makes a great solo. You don't need to play a million notes to get there. In fact, a lot of the best solos I've ever heard are not hard to play. They're not difficult. They're things that within 6 months to a year, depending on how much work you put into the instrument, as far as, woodshedding, really practicing, you can play a lot of that stuff. You can play a lot of it. Because it's just well thought out. It's appropriate for the song. It fits. And it's just, it's great. It's great. It's not there for the sake of being there. Yeah, what the heck? I'm sorry, Billy. I didn't mean to call you out, but you got to admit, it's kind of funny. Greg, looking at gear is an even playing field for all levels, and it's not intimidating. Listening to others play music might be intimidating, as in they don't measure up in ability or creativity. See, that's something I would expect from somebody much younger than you, Greg, to write. And here's why I say that. To me, I'm not talking directly to you here because you do this for a living, but that's a cop-out. I read that as a cop-out. I read that as an excuse, because when I started playing music and I was a drummer, there was a jazz teacher that I had, Mr. Cremicio, and that guy was a beast. I'm trying to keep this family friendly. He was a beast on the drums. And I remember being like 12 or 13 and thinking like, I suck. And before that, I was just like, yeah, I'm getting way better, because I was really, really quick to take the drums on and be, competent, at least in the sense of like stuff that's typically always going to be in 4/4. And, being able to reliably stay on beat. And then I remember hearing him play when I joined in for jazz and being like, gosh, I got to get that good. So what did I do? I worked my ass off. I probably never got to where he was, but really paying attention to everything that he did, breaking out why he did what he did, when he did it, and asking him questions directly, and then getting technique things and feedback. That was the thing. It wasn't just like, oh, I'll never be that good. What's the point? I'll stick to my Foo Fighters covers. I'll stick to my whatever. Botching some Nirvana song that everybody else has botched. It's like 3 chords. What's the point? I look at it as a cop-out. Because if you're going to invest this much time and money, into something and you really love it, shouldn't you try to improve at that thing? I mean, you got to take it back to any topic, really. Like, I know a lot of people like to play video games. If you're going to spend X amount of time playing a video game, like, wouldn't you want to get better at the game? Are you gonna have fun not knowing what the hell you're doing and just kind of hacking your way through it? Or is it gonna be more rewarding to learn how to do it correctly, or play better rather, and really get more out of it and potentially unlock more with it? Because music is very much the same in that sense. Like, the more you put in, the more it unlocks that you're able to do. Because when you have the knowledge and you have the technical skills to be able to do things on the instrument, regardless of what the instrument is, it opens doors for you, and it allows you to really just kind of expand everything as a guitarist, and then you're picking out of this jar of knowledge and this jar of knowledge and this jar of knowledge, and then you can combine it all into your own thing. And that's what's awesome about it. You see what I'm saying here? So this whole like, oh, well, you know what? It's too intimidating. Yeah. I watch some players where I'm like, I'm never going to be that good. But it doesn't kind of stop me from wanting to improve and actively trying to keep getting better. That's just my take. Stan, the issue is not with the artist. It's with us. Armchair guitarist. It's easier to purchase gear than become a good player. It's a shortcut to an endorphin shot. Yeah, I don't know much to add to that, because I know a lot of people that casually play. They don't gig, and it's just a hobby. It's fun, and they don't really see the point in grinding it out. They're happy with where they're at, and to them, using gear and geartube and watching reviews and buying things is like their escape from, everyday life. And everybody needs one, period. Doesn't matter what you do. Like, you got your job, maybe you have a family, maybe you got kids, and that time that you spend being able to watch, your favorite YouTube channels or check out the newest thing, because maybe it's exciting to you. It reminds you when you were a kid, and brands like Fender and Gibson, that's why they're still in business, because of the nostalgia factor. Let's just call a spade here. Maybe that's how they want to do it, because it makes them able to get out of, whatever else is going on at that moment and just focus on something else. I get that part of it. I do. Yeah, you think you hit the nail on the head. It's where you are. It's an escape and a hobby. Yeah, it's kind of, I think we've kind of established kind of a good overhaul where you guys sit on that. But the Guthrie thing, like, another thing that he did recently, and this was something else that I saw on the gear page, made me laugh. I actually chimed in on it because they made a thread complaining. Let me see it, if I can get it to pop up here. But they were complaining about YouTubers, and I'm laughing in my head here. I'm laughing so hard in my head here. I'm like, you guys, you are bitching and whining, and you are the reason it's like this. You fools. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. YouTube demos you can write off based purely on the video thumbnail. They complain about everything here. People with tattoos, people holding a guitar in a classical position, people making dumb faces, people, and then you have you want to talk about armchair people. Tune your guitar, don't drone on and on with one lame lead guitar wanking. Yeah, I agree. Demonstrate the full range of the gear, play in every style that I see fit. Great, good for you. Don't talk too much or try to be cute. Okay. Give us a short version of your pros and cons and some conclusions. We got 7 people that are like, yeah, man, that's what I want. Okay, cool. And then this guy, and I gotta agree with this. This shit makes me cringe. Sorry, I said I was gonna be family friendly. At least I didn't drop an F-bomb. I said the other one instead. Yeah, every thumbnail is this. But you know why every thumbnail is this? And they have these sorts of titles on them? Because people click it. And I think I exactly responded with it. With that exact sentiment. Where am I here? Yeah. I said the reason so many make those stupid faces and use comically over-the-top thumbnails titles is because the average person is more likely to click them. I referenced the Guthrie Trapp thing. And this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about that he did. A few weeks ago, he made a video, or an Instagram short rather, and he showed the before and afters. Originally, he had a lesson that was, very appropriately named, but it had no sensationalism, but the content in it was fantastic. It got no views on it. He was disappointed. So what he did was he basically uploaded the same exact lesson with the same exact content and clickbaited the hell out of the title, and it did exponentially better. Why is that? It's because the general audience, that's what they're going to click on. They're not going to click on, what's the new, Fender American Professional 2025 release Stratocaster review. Or just 2025 Fender new line American Stratocaster. That's it. And then a picture of just, the guitar on like a blank kind of background. Nobody's going to click that. Very few people are going to click it. Maybe these people that are complaining on the gear page are going to click it. But the average person, if they have the choice between clicking something that's really straightforward and quite frankly honest about what the video is going to be, well, to an extent, doesn't really say if it's a review in this example, but you compare that with if you have this guy doing this thing, which I don't know if his hand is just going to be permanently attached to his face after doing YouTube all these years, right? And then like a big, like, how could they get this wrong? Or I can't believe how good this is. Or you need to hear this. Which one do you think people are going to click on? And until people stop clicking on those sorts of things to get people's attention, guess what? The people that put views as number one priority, and I do not slight any of them in the slightest, because you know what? Views are how you make money. Subscriber count doesn't mean a damn thing once you hit past 1,000. Views are how you make money. I can't blame them at all. Can't blame them at all. But that's the only way to stop it. The only way to stop it is to not reward it by clicking on it. Greg, it's not your mentality, but there are lots of people that are scared and intimidated by someone's level of musical expertise and stay in their lane, so to say, and are perfectly fine. Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I agreed with what you were getting at. I'm just saying I disagree with, that being a accepted kind of mentality, and it's just very defeatist to me. And I know not everyone's like that. Certainly not everyone's like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything. We would just have people playing crappy grunge music all day still, because it's very simple, and they would just end there, and that'd be the end of it. Cool shirt. Looks like a Weebo Boogie. Thank you. I appreciate the reference. Weebo Boogie is a song. It's an instrumental song off our last record. I may have actually worn this shirt when I went into track. I may have done that. I'm the kind of person that I run stuff into the ground. So my wardrobe hasn't changed all that much in the last 10 years. Fortunately, I haven't grown. That sounds like your review. No drama, just the specs and sounds. Yeah. Well, guess what? That review is going to get 300 views while the other guy is going to have tens of thousands. Our buddies are gonna get all the views with the sensationalism, because it's what the average person wants. These people that you're referencing here, they don't want to put in the time and the effort to get better. Maybe they're intimidated to do it. They're more likely to click on the sensationalist kind of topic or thumbnail. It is what it is. The numbers do not lie. The analytics do not lie. I've made several sorts of video and experiments where I've tried to do things very deliberately with the titles and thumbnail that I wouldn't normally do, just to see if it'd do better. And every single time that I've optimized in that sense, they have done better. They just have. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Funny watching all the complaints on TGP. I do all of the things they say they complain about. I just be honest, no clickbait titles, and then I get double-digit views and low single-digit likes or comments. And don't feel bad. I have 4 likes on this. It's true, though. Like, it's a tough balancing act, because you got to have personality, and you got to have some... Well, actually, no, you don't. You don't need to be able to play. This is sad. This is sad. You really don't need to be able to play guitar well. If you have a look, you have a production thing going on, you speak coherently, apparently that's all you need to get in with some of these companies, because it's certainly not based on ability. And I'll tell you something funny. Like, yes, I filmed this video yesterday. I still got to do some B-roll for it, but this is going to get posted tomorrow. Origin Effects, I did a collaboration with them. So they sent me the Halcyon Blue Overdrive so I can make a video for you guys. And at the point where I'm doing the kind of talking, because I did this one a little bit different, but I waited till midway through until I acknowledged and I thanked Origin Effects for sending me the pedal, because I wanted to just get like straight into the sounds. And in that little kind of moment of honesty, I said, this is a legitimate company. Like, they don't cut corners. They absolutely design the best possible product. And it's kind of humbling to think that, they think I'm worthy as a player to be able to demonstrate this stuff to help them sell it, because that's really how I feel. Like, I don't feel like I'm good enough to demo some of this really, really good stuff. I just don't. I don't. And I realize it is a somewhat of a numbers game and whatever. And I have like middling numbers. I don't have great numbers. I don't have bad numbers. I'm kind of just like in purgatory forever here. But when it comes to like sheer ability, there are a billion players. Not a billion, but thousands and thousands. Because I don't think there's a billion guitar players uploading to YouTube. That's the only reason I say that. But on this platform, there are thousands of people that get under 100 views on everything they post, and they could play me under the table pretty much on everything. Now, is that fair? Depends on how you want to look at it. But being extremely good is not a prerequisite to be able to get into this part of it, where you're just a marketing guy, because that's what it kind of feels like. Hey, I like playing crappy grunge. I forgive you for the insult. Ah, there you go. I'm having fun with it. You got to understand, all right? I have a certain soft spot for how much I dislike grunge music because I love offsets so much. Specifically the Jaguar and the Mustang. And whenever I see somebody mutilate one of those things, they do it because it's crappy grunge music. And I'm going to keep calling it crappy because I don't like it. You're entitled to like it. That's cool. I'm probably sure there's a lot of music that I like that you would listen to and you think sucks, right? That's the beauty of music. There's something for everybody. But whenever I see an offset guitar that's just mangled, I just look right at that band and I'm like, you did it again. You did it again. You got somebody else to want to cosplay as you and destroy a perfectly fine instrument. Well done. And I have fun with it. What's up, JP? You have so much passion for Fender. It makes sense to me. It's never been technical race. I love when guitar players have individual flavor. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. I'm going to level with you guys. I have never actively tried, like really tried, to get in on like a day one release for Fender. Ever. I've been trying for 2 months. The amount of emails I sent to multiple different places trying to get one of these guitars that are coming out, I felt like an idiot. Obviously, it didn't go well. But at the end of the day here, it just made me kind of really reevaluate everything, because I thought to myself, well, what am I doing? Is this really what I have fun with compared to like sitting and playing just drums by itself? Or just firing up the Z and playing loud, writing songs, or basically, for all intents and purposes, harassing a company that make guitars I happen to like so that I could do marketing for them in exchange for an instrument. Think about that. Because you want to break it down. That's what it is. That's what it is. And I thought that was kind of sad. It made me feel really crappy about myself. But that's the industry we live in. And we all got to make money somehow, right? What is going on, man? I've never seen you in one of these. Super Dangerous Studios himself. You love grunge? I don't hate all of grunge. I just don't like Nirvana. And I don't like how much Nirvana has influenced people that buy offset guitars. Because there's only so many of them, and my passion for those things, the Jaguar specifically, just seeing how few and far in between they are. Like if you look up how scarce they are on the used market, and how expensive the ones that are there are, as far as like proper vintage, American vintage, or even the American originals, those are tough to get these days. Whether it's a 62 or a 65 reissue Jag, they're impossible. They're impossible. So Fender kind of neglecting the model is kind of, it's sad to me. But I guess I'm just not the target audience. I'm an old man. I look young. But I'm an old man. Okay. In all honesty, I think you have earned your place on this platform. You're highly informative and you can play. You aren't rude and you are a genuinely likable person who knows this stuff. Well, I don't think I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know. I think I could do a better job, man. If I'm just being honest with you, I think I could do a better job of being even more positive. I really mean that. When I was younger, I was always such a negative person. And it was just, just, we don't need to get into it. We all go through stuff when we're growing up and as kids and things of that sort of nature. But I just always found myself to be a negative person. And that carried on for a while. It wasn't until I quit drinking all those years ago that I've started to kind of turn it around and try to look for the positive in things. Because I honestly believe, you can make fun of me if you want here, but my faith really helps me believe that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel and a good that can be found even in a bad situation. So I just want to do a better job of doing that, but I really appreciate that. And we got other people on here that are far better players than I am. Far better players. Like Alex. I have to agree with Jim. I loathe grunge. It was going crazy when I was growing up, and I hate it, especially Nirvana. Yes, I know I committed hearsay to some. Well, I think what I just said kind of gives you a reasoning as to why I don't like Nirvana as a whole. It's so overtly negative. Like when I listened to it, and another band that wasn't a grunge band, right? But like, I really liked them growing up because the music was really happy sounding. It was Sublime. And we always had dreams, me and my best friend Jill, ever since we were little kids, man. We knew we wanted to go to San Diego specifically. We didn't want to go to Los Angeles. We wanted to go to San Diego. She got there before I did, but she would film me skating all around New York. And the music that we would listen to would be like stuff like Sublime, like Real Big Fish, and that sort of stuff, Less Than Jake. And then you had the punk bands like Lagwagon, Strung Out, No Use for a Name. All that stuff, when I go back and I listen to it, I do get the nostalgia from a lot of it. But some of it, I listen back and it's just too dark and it's too depraved. And knowing what I know now, because back then, like, I didn't know some of these people had like serious drug problems, and some of them obviously didn't survive them. I was just, I just wanted to skate. I just wanted to skateboard. So I wasn't looking that deep into it. And now it's almost painful to listen to, and knowing that some of these people left, kids without parents. I mean, like, that's a heavy pill to swallow, my friend. It's a heavy pill to swallow. I just want a little bit more optimism, a little bit more Corey Wong, a little bit more Corey Wong in my life. Oh man. It's fine if a YouTuber doesn't have the chops to receive and review gear. I'm into high gain music these days, and the other John Brown isn't a great player. His demos are objective, and I like it. Send me a link to him. I have not heard of him. I will check him out. I'll give anybody a shot. I don't care. I mean, anybody that clicks on my channel, I'm very grateful for that. So it has to start somewhere. You agree with the Kurt Cobain Jag? Yeah. Well, that one, you know what? I'm fine with the Kurt Cobain Jag because at least it's already mangled from the factory. It's the fact that Fender just don't offer one to begin with that is just a regular Jaguar outside of the Vintera 2 that's a 70s model with the maple. And I know I'm a grumpy man, being very pedantic, and I find it really, really, really fitting that we started this off talking about, why do people care more about the gear than the music? And I mean, I'm playing right into it because for whatever reason or another, I want Fender to make a right Jaguar, and I want to buy one. That's it. Kind of silly. What do you think about MKG? He plays a Jaguar too. I don't know. This is old boomer Jim here. I've never heard a single thing from MKG. Or yeah, I almost said Mickey. I know who Humphreys McGee are. I don't know who MK. I've read the name, but I couldn't put any songs in my head. I apologize. I'm old. Also, wanting to progress and learn is a good thing. It means you aren't just riding the wave and want to genuinely put out great content. You'll get to where you want to eventually. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's just a lot of time invested. And I think it's really going to come down to look, there's some companies that have been really great to me on like a personal level. Not just like, oh, we're gonna collaborate with you and do the gear stuff, and it's just a business thing. Like those are cool too. But like there are some companies that over the years, like I know, some of these people over there now. Like I'll just talk and shoot the breeze with them because it's just like it's gotten to that point in a relationship, and they make such high quality stuff that I'll always want to support them in any way that I can, whether it is promoting them on YouTube. If that's the avenue that I take to do it, so be it. But as a whole here, like just reviewing stuff for the sake of reviewing it, for brands that either don't care, or I'm just not interested in, but I know it'll get views. That's another thing. I used to demo a lot of guitars that I personally didn't really want to demo, but it made sense to do it for like the growth of the YouTube thing. It's silly. It's silly. But that's kind of the inside baseball on that. I really think you're one of the most consistent YouTubers, man. Love the videos, and you hear what your style is and can get a great understanding of an instrument when you play one. Well, I appreciate that, man. I do. You and Ivan are two of the only ones that I will regularly check out because I don't feel like I'm watching a review. And for anybody who hasn't watched Super Dangerous Studios, he's the one saying that right now. His videos, you want to talk? Greg was talking about being intimidated by other musicians' technical ability. The production of his videos intimidate me. They're like little movies, and it's all stuff. I'm assuming he has kids, because it's the same stuff that I do with my kid. Like I voice, like little stuffies, and we play games and we do all sorts of fun stuff like that. And some of them have like serious personalities that we've concocted, and seeing that like come to life in some of the videos and making it fun, like that's intimidating to me just because I know how hard it is for me to just put together a very vanilla demo in Final Cut Pro. I can't think about doing something like that higher production quality. But it's cool and it's worthwhile, and you appreciate when people put in that sort of the effort. And the same thing with Cyber Attack. His stuff, I look at, it doesn't have the same like sort of production, but at the same time, the information that he's giving you is so valuable because he's not pretending to know what he's talking about. He's not a self-proclaimed like expert or an authority on any subject matter. He just shows you without telling you, if that makes any sense. Or when he does tell you something, he does do a proper way of portraying whatever he's trying to explain to you and why it works with whatever pedal. And he typically does a lot of like kind of out there stuff with a lot of effects on it, but it's worthwhile information. It's very useful, and that's why he's grown substantially. I think he's at like almost 50,000 subscribers at some point. And there was a time where me and him were like in the same boat as far as like views and subs and all that. But he like really found his niche, and like I'm super happy for him because he's a really talented guy, and yeah, he deserves it. You saw Less Than Jake this year? Such a fun mosh pit. Less Than Jake were great. They were a lot of fun. Save Ferris is another really fun band too. And I bring them up because I think I've seen those three bands, Less Than Jake, Save Ferris, and Real Big Fish, on the same bill together probably 10 or 15 times in my life total. They're just bands that kind of like, play well together. And obviously it's third wave ska. It's got elements of kind of like rock and sometimes punk mixed in, but it's poppy third wave ska. But they're always a fun show though. Lots of high energy. And I love bands with horn sections. I love horn sections. They're just, they just give you all the feels, man. It's so much more energy. And that's why Corey Wong puts on such a good show. That band is unbelievably good. If you ever have, an hour to kill and you're thinking about watching a gear review, don't watch a gear review. Corey Wong has full concerts in like professional quality camera footage and coming straight from the board, so it's like perfect audio quality as well, all on YouTube. And there's a number to pick from. Start with the one from MSG is really good, or the one when they played with the symphony. That was also really good too. But there's just so much great like music out there, man. There's just so much great music. Did you ever like Rise Against? Yeah, I thought they were pretty good. They weren't a band I got like heavy into. For that style of music, I kind of like Thrice a little bit more. I really like Thrice. And I remember when they released like the trilogy album or the three-parter album. And I was really disappointed with it because it was like really experimental at the time. I go back and I listen to it now and I'm like, oh, I totally get what they were going here. I think it was Vishnu, but it was so good. It was so good. And there's been a few bands like that. Hey, let me ask you guys this: has there ever been a band that you really liked and you couldn't wait? You got to the store. Oh my God, I'm really dating myself here. You went to the store on the album release day so you could get the CD. You get the CD. You put it on in the car. You start driving and you think, oh man, this sucks. Or I'm disappointed, or this isn't as good as what I thought, or the last album or whatever. And then one day, decades later, you go back and you listen to it and you think, man, I was a dumb kid. These people really grew as musicians, and this might be one of their best albums they ever made. One album that I'll tell you was like that for me. We're just talking about a bunch of punk rock bands, so this is super appropriate. Was Saves the Day. I loved Saves the Day. I thought Through Being Cool was such a good album. They were kind of aggressive. It was good teenager music. You know what I mean? Nothing too deep. Just relationship stuff and, fighting against the world and trying to fit in when you're just a nerd. Got on well with me. They released an album called Stay What You Are, and it was a lot poppier. Chris's voice had changed, but it wasn't because he wanted it to. It was he had physical stuff happen to him. I forget exactly what it's called, but it caused the timbre of his voice to alter. And I remember listening to this, and I'm like, this isn't punk rock. I bought a punk rock album, and I got a pop album. What the hell is this? Is this a different band? I go back and I listen to that now. Fantastic. And they got better from there too. Darker, but better. You would have loved your hometown band back in the day. We had ska bands for days. All the horns you could shake a stick at. Yeah, I love the horns, man. Ska was fun. There were a lot of really good bands. Like Mustard Plug was another really good one. The Boss Tones. Everybody knew the Boss Tones. But my favorite was Real Big Fish, I would say. Mostly because of the drummer. That guy. Whew. You want to watch somebody just rip and just totally go unnoticed because everybody else is just, kind of taking center stage between the horns going on, the lead guitar playing going on, the singing going on, all the vocal melodies happening on top of that. The drummer can kind of sit back into the background. You might not notice him unless you really start to focus on him. But if you do, you're like, whoa. Like, that guy's very, very, very good. Because he is. But I'm very happy we got to that topic. All right, you sent me a link. Let's go ahead here. And I'm really happy it let me do that. Because normally when you guys send links, it wasn't letting me do that. The other John Brown, 109 videos. You're in the right place, fellow guitar nerd. Okay, he's standing next to a Marshall. Yep, and he's doing the YouTube thing that you have to do. The faces, the over-the-top thumbnails. I mean, I do this stuff too. You got to do it. So he's figured it out. I will check this guy out when we're done today. Anyway, we had brands like Mustard Plug from my hometown. Ever hear of them? I just mentioned Mustard Plug. You're dating yourself, but I had the Clash's first album, and when London Calling came out, it was revelation with almost every musical style on it, a masterpiece for its time period and eternity. That is a great album to this day. That holds up. Not everything does. And it's funny, like my wife was like, because I've always been in like pop music in general. Like there were singles from more recent bands. And when I say more recent bands, I mean like early 2000s, stuff like that, that I liked. You know what I mean? Like bands like Sugar Cult, The Used, just, what was another one that was really good? Sponge. Sponge had a song I really liked. But my wife is a few years younger than I am. She was big into all of the emo stuff. And it was when I was just like really getting out of that scene because it was becoming way too whiny, way too suburban, kind of like I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, but bands like Fall Out Boy and Taking Back Sunday and stuff like that, where it started to not sound like music and more like somebody just, crying into a microphone. And not like Dashboard Confessional, where the guy was like actually crying on stage, and you would have like grown bikers crying in the crowd. That was always a trip. If you're old enough to have ever seen a Dashboard Conventional, whether they opened up for somebody or they were the headliner, that was something in the late 90s and the early 2000s. I remember I went to see a band called Zebrahead, and Dashboard Confessional was the opener. And I had never heard of them. And it kind of didn't fit in at all with Zebrahead if you've ever heard of that band. They're much more aggressive and almost had like the rap rock thing going on at times, but it was super good music. Great guitar player in that band. But I remember seeing like grown men like really feeling it, listening to Dashboard Confessional. It's just such emotional music. And then you went from that where it felt like really sincere to like, Fall Out Boy went, "Meh, my dad didn't buy me the Mercedes, he bought me the Mazda instead. Hate my life. I disown my family." Oh man, you didn't hear me mention Mustard Plug? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't control the ads. They're more aggressive now too. Let me tell you. They're more aggressive now. New to the channel, stumbled in here after you got the Vintera 2 Mustang. Just wanted to say thanks for the great content. I appreciate that, and I'm happy you got an awesome Mustang. They really get that guitar right. I can be hard on Fender, but when they do a good job in what they're capable of doing, like, there's a reason why they've been able to maintain all these years outside of the nostalgia. It's because they make stuff that's great. They really do. And the Vintera 2 Mustang, to me, is the best American available. I'll say that, because some of the Japanese models, you could be splitting hairs here, and it's going to come down to preference and what you like specs, right? But I think it's the best representation of a Fender Mustang that we've had since they were discontinued in the early 1980s. I'd love for them to build an American one, but it doesn't make sense financially to do it. That one I understand. The Jaguar I'm going to always be on their case for, but the reason they won't make an American Vintage 2 Mustang, in my opinion, is because it's not financially viable. And that comes down to the used market on the vintage ones. It'd be almost the same price. Like if you look for a custom color Fender Jazzmaster, like a 66, the reissue is $2,700, and you say that's a lot of money. It is. If you want that same Sherwood green from an actual 1966, multiply that number by 5. By 5. With the Mustang, you don't have that. You can get really clean 65, 66 Mustangs for $2,000 to $3,000. So if they were to release an American vintage version, where would it be priced? It would have to be between the Jazzmaster and what's the cheapest one they offer now? Like the Telly, the 63 Telly, and I think that's $2,400. Even if they were able to get in at $2,200, that's a tough decision for people. That's a tough decision because you can have a vintage one for almost the same price. So that's why I believe that we're not going to see an American true reissue of the Fender Mustang. Kind of sucks, but the Vintera 2 is fantastic. So I'm at least happy they got that right. All right. Nice. You have the Purple Burst one. Got it. Awesome. They don't call it Purple Burst. They call it Burgundy. It's definitely more purple, though. Thanks. Agreed. To me, Mexican made is no different than USA. No, dude, the Mexican Mustang's better than any American one that they've made since, again, the late 1970s, early 1980s. And there weren't all that many made in the late 1980s. Or the early 1980s, I should say. And when I had a vintage Fender Mustang at the time when I had the Vintera 2. And I played those back to back like a bit. I did the video thing. Obviously I was going to do the video thing. But even just with my own personal experience, like playing those two guitars, it didn't feel like a complete night and day, like this is a blowout difference. And that's a best compliment I can give. Because that vintage one, it was refinished, but it was a great guitar. That was a great guitar. at least 5. 5 on the way. You love playing on the Jazz Course. The Jazz Course is a great amp. I like the older ones. They're built to basically survive a nuclear attack and just keep on going. You just couldn't get rid of them. They were like cockroaches. I shouldn't have said what I just said before that. I don't like politics. Somehow somebody will make that political. Trust me, they find a way. You call it Purple Burst because then people would know which one I'm talking about. Calling it Burgundy, it makes no sense when Burgundy is a red shade, isn't it? Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. To me, it's more of a purple / a blue burst. If you really want to get, I think it's more of a blueberry burst. It's similar to the Gibson. It's more accented with the blue. The purple's more kind of just around the corners on that. So it's less noticeable, but it's more of a blueberry burst. They sound heavenly. Yeah, it's a great sound. It's an absolutely great sound. Okay, guys, here's what I got to do. I set the camera up so I can do some shots of this thing while it's on the pedal board, because it's staying on the pedal board unless, I need to sell everything I have to make a bunch of money. In which case, that would probably be the last thing I would sell. I'd have to sell guitars to do that. But speaking of which, I did just sell a guitar. And on the website right now, I have a few more for sale. I have the American Vintage 263 Telecaster. I'm going to alter the price on that. And if you're watching this, you'll know what it is. Just to $1,500 dead even. Dead even. That's it, unless you live in Florida. If you live in Florida, I have to sell it. I have to give you sales tax. And the road-worn Vintera 50s. I almost said 1 because everything's now 2 with Fender. But the purple one, I have that for sale too, as well as the D'Angelico Premier Mini DC. And the only reason I'm getting rid of that is because I have the Excel. And I don't need 2 of those, because I think the Excel is fantastic. I think the Premier is also fantastic, but I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I don't need both. Check that out. Link is in the description. Thank you guys for hanging out today. Nice to see some new faces, and always nice to see some of the regulars as well. I will make a post on Sunday. I'll make a post on Sunday where we'll have more time for a topic that you guys want to go over, but it was a lot of fun going over this one today. So hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.